Have you ever woken up unable to move? Sleep paralysis affects millions, but for one man in Toronto, it wasn't just a medical condition. It was something far more sinister. Meet David Chen, a 42-year-old office worker living alone in a downtown apartment. His ordeal began in March 2016, when he started waking every single night at exactly 3:15 a.m. Not 3:14, not 3:16, always 3:15. Each time, David found himself completely paralyzed, unable to move a muscle or call for help. His breathing became labored as if something was pressing down on his chest. But the most terrifying part wasn't the paralysis. It was the presence he felt in the room. A tall, dark shadow stood motionless at the foot of his bed, watching him. David could feel its eyes burning into him, studying his helpless form. The figure never moved, never spoke. It just stood there until David finally drifted back into unconsciousness. At first, David convinced himself it was just sleep paralysis. He'd read about the condition online, how stress and sleep deprivation could cause vivid hallucinations during the transition between sleep and wakefulness. It made perfect sense. But then came the morning that changed everything. David woke up to find dark purple bruises wrapped around both his arms, finger-shaped marks that looked like someone had gripped him with incredible force. The bruises were fresh, tender to the touch, and completely real. Panicking, David rushed to his doctor. He explained the nightly episodes, the shadow figure, and now the mysterious bruises. The doctor examined the marks, ran some tests, and ultimately dismissed David's concerns. "It's clearly stress-related," the doctor said, prescribing sleeping pills. "You're probably thrashing around in your sleep without realizing it. The mind can play powerful tricks when we're exhausted." But David knew something was wrong. These weren't self-inflicted injuries. The grip marks were too precise, too deliberate. Then his downstairs neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, knocked on his door with a disturbing revelation. Every night at 3:15 a.m., she heard heavy footsteps pacing back and forth above her bedroom ceiling, right where David's bed was located. "The thing is," she said nervously, "I can hear you walking around up there, but it sounds like you're dragging your feet, like you're injured or something. Are you okay?" David felt his blood run cold. During his episodes, he was completely paralyzed. He couldn't move at all, let alone walk around his apartment. CTA midpoint. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, let me know in the comments. I want to hear your story. Desperate for answers, David decided to document what was happening. He set up a security camera in his bedroom, positioning it to capture his bed and the area where the shadow figure typically appeared. That night, David went to sleep with a mixture of dread and anticipation. At exactly 3:15 a.m., the camera recorded everything. The footage showed David's body suddenly going rigid in bed, his eyes snapping open in terror. But he wasn't alone. A dark humanoid figure materialized at the foot of his bed. Not a shadow or trick of light, but something solid and real. The entity moved with unnatural fluidity, gliding around the bed until it loomed directly over David's paralyzed form. It leaned down close to his face, and though no words were audible on the recording, David's expression twisted into a mask of absolute horror. The video ended abruptly at 3:47 a.m. with David's face frozen in a silent scream. The next morning, David packed his belongings and broke his lease immediately, forfeiting his security deposit without hesitation. He moved across the city, hoping distance would end his nightmare. But the story doesn't end there. The landlord quickly found a new tenant, a young graduate student named Marcus, who was thrilled to find such an affordable apartment in downtown Toronto. Marcus lasted exactly 3 nights. On his 4th morning, he was found by building security sitting in his car in the parking garage, refusing to go back upstairs. His lease was broken by noon that same day. The apartment remains vacant to this day. Sometimes neighbors still report hearing footsteps at 3:15 a.m., echoing from the empty unit above. David never experienced another episode after moving, but he still wakes up every night at 3:15 a.m., checking to make sure he's alone.